Did you know that some failed relationships have nothing to do with love, but everything to do with a father's absence? If you fear abandonment or find yourself getting attached way too quickly, this video is for you. The absence of a father isn't just a childhood event that fades over time. It's a deep psychological experience that shapes how we see ourselves, how we connect with others, and how we make life choices. Today, we're going to explore the psychological depth of this father wound, how it's formed, how it shows up in adulthood, and most importantly, how healing begins by acknowledging and nurturing that inner child, rather than trying to outrun the past. A father's absence, whether it's physical due to death or divorce, or emotional due to neglect, is a profound issue. A father's role goes far beyond financial support. He's a fundamental pillar for our psychological balance, our values, and our sense of security and belonging. First, let's look at the psychological and emotional impact. A father's absence often leaves a clear emotional void. This can show up as insecurity, fear, or persistent anxiety. A child who lacks a supportive father figure often suffers from low self-confidence and may look for unhealthy emotional substitutes to fill that gap. For example, a child raised without an emotionally present father might become overly sensitive to criticism or withdraw socially, all because they missed that early encouragement. Second is the impact on behavior and education. A father plays a crucial role in setting boundaries and regulating behavior. Without him, we might see behavioral issues, especially in sons like aggression, rebellion, or a weak commitment to rules. Academically, performance can decline due to a lack of guidance. We see this in many cases where adolescents without a father figure gravitate towards negative peer groups, searching for a male role model, which can lead to harmful behaviors. The impact on daughters is particularly pronounced. For a girl, a father often represents safety and validation. Losing that can deeply affect her self-image in future relationships. It can make her more vulnerable to unbalanced emotional attachments or develop a crippling fear of abandonment. For instance, a girl who never got attention from her father might seek it in unhealthy relationships, or swing the other way and avoid emotional attachment altogether, terrified of being hurt again. And what about sons? The father is the primary role model for learning about masculinity, responsibility, and emotional regulation. Without this model, a son might struggle with identity confusion or have a hard time expressing his emotions in a healthy way. A young man who grew up without a present father might struggle with making decisions or taking on responsibilities at work and in his family, simply because he never had that practical example to follow. From a depth psychology perspective, a father's absence isn't just an external event. It's an early psychological experience stored in our unconscious. The father isn't just a person, but a psychological function that structures our personality. According to attachment theory, a child needs consistent caregivers to feel secure. A father's absence can lead to an insecure attachment style. This could be an anxious attachment with a constant fear of being left, or an avoidant attachment, where you push people away to avoid pain. Think about it. A person who jumps into relationships, gets overly attached, and then panics at the slightest distance that's often an echo of an early father wound that hardwired a fear of loss into their system. The father also acts as a mirror of identity. He helps build our ego by affirming our self-worth and competence. Without that mirror, we might develop fragile self-esteem, an excessive need for validation from others, and a deep-seated feeling of being unworthy. This is how you get a professionally successful person who secretly feels like a fraud imposter syndrome because their inner voice never got that paternal affirmation. This absence can also create what's called a narcissistic wound, an early feeling of being rejected or invisible. The result? Hypersensitivity to criticism and psychological defenses like acting superior or withdrawing completely. You might see someone who appears incredibly strong and independent but falls apart at the slightest critique. That independence is often a defensive mask, not genuine strength. The father also helps build our internal authority, our ability to make decisions, have self-discipline, and take responsibility. Without him, we might face chronic indecisiveness, a fear of authority, or a constant search for someone else to lead our lives. Picture a grown woman who can't make major life decisions without everyone else's approval. She never developed that stable internal compass. Unconsciously, this plays out in our romantic lives. We might reenact the father's absence by choosing emotionally unavailable partners, or getting attached to people who constantly pull away. It's not about love. It's as an unconscious attempt to heal an old wound by trying to make someone like our father stay this time. So, how does deep healing begin? It starts with making the unconscious conscious, understanding how the absence shaped your thoughts and emotions. Then, it's about rebuilding your internal fathering, developing an inner voice that's supportive and firm, not critical or absent. You have to rewrite your psychological narrative, moving from "I am incomplete because my father was absent" to "I was hurt, but I can be whole." This brings us to the inner child. The inner child is the part of you that holds all your unresolved childhood emotions: fear, need, anger, and longing. A father's absence isn't just a memory. It's a deep emotional imprint on this inner child, whispering things like "I am invisible," "I am not enough," or "they will leave me in the end." The wounded inner child then shows up in our adult lives, especially in emotionally sensitive situations. In relationships, it's that intense fear of abandonment. In our emotions, it's that deep sadness without a clear cause. Healing this inner child starts with acknowledging them. You have to say, "Yes, there was a child who was hurt," without downplaying it. The next step is reparenting. You become your own protector, your own supporter, the parent you once needed. When you feel that fear of rejection, you speak to yourself with compassion. "I am here with you. You will not be abandoned now." This is how you teach your inner child that the danger has passed and that the adult you is now capable of protection. When the inner child heals, your emotional reactions become less intense. Your relationships more balanced, and you develop an inner sense of safety that doesn't depend on anyone else. The good news is that healing is possible. It starts with acknowledging your feelings, the sadness, the anger, the sense of loss. Don't deny them. Then reframe the absence. It was not your fault. It is essential to realize that a father's absence is about circumstances beyond a child's control. Start building a healthy self-image by celebrating your achievements and recognizing your worth. Seek out positive alternative role models: a teacher, a coach, an uncle. And if the wound is deep, psychotherapy can be an incredibly effective tool for healing. Finally, you can make peace with the past without justifying it. You accept reality without letting it control your future. Many who experience this pain become more empathetic and self-aware, turning their wound into a source of strength. The absence of a father may leave a scar, but it does not define your destiny. True healing begins the moment you choose to be present for yourself, even if someone else wasn't. If this topic resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes just putting it into words is the first step toward healing. If you think this could help someone you know, please share it. Support the channel by liking and subscribing so you don't miss our future conversations. Your presence here matters, and your voice deserves to be heard.